First, Reeves is no stranger to different cultures. The now iconic actor was born in Beirut, where his British mother worked as a performer and a costume designer. As luck would have it, Keanu's dad was out of the picture pretty early on in his life. So he would move around with his mom to wherever her work would take her. They lived for a bit in Sydney, Australia, then in New York, before settling down in Toronto. But that isn't the extent of Keanu's cultural exposure. His grandmother also exposed him to Hawaiian and Chinese culture. This is on top of the upbringing from his mom about English customs and attitudes. Add in all those multicultural viewpoints and what do you get? The tolerant and empathetic Keanu we know today. Also, the star wasn't exactly a stranger to star power growing up. Young Reeves often found himself in the company of celebrities. Now that's a sentence not every child can say and mean. You see, Reeves's mom was pretty well connected due to her work, so Keanu ended up meeting lots of celebrities. And I'm talking about figures like David Bowie. Also, the Matrix actor remembers time spent with the likes of Dolly Parton and Emmylou Harris as a child. This would explain why he wanted to go into acting. But at the same time, it says a little something about Keanu's overall attitude towards fame. He's relatively unaware of his own star power, even now. I guess he wasn't that impressed with it since he was always around it. It's certainly a unique thing to take away from an experience like that. But hey, Keanu's nothing if not unique. And speaking of special circumstances, Reeves worked as a production assistant when he was 15. That's early. Keanu's mother married Paul Aaron, who worked as a director on Broadway and in the film industry. However, it didn't last. But when Keanu kept in touch with Paul and worked for him, though they were no longer a family, the two seem to have remained pretty close. Aaron certainly had a huge hand in giving the world the man who's now John Wick. Aaron also has nothing but great things to say about his former stepson. According to him, Keanu worked very hard for a long time, and it wasn't like things were dropped into his lap. While I'm on the subject of things getting dropped, Keanu did get kicked out of school once. When it came to high schools, Reeves certainly shopped around. As a freshman, he was all for going to a place purely for academics. But later he decided to audition for the Etobicoke School of Arts. Well, what he wanted to be wasn't meant to be. Despite enjoying his time there, he was ultimately expelled. Keanu touched on the matter and said he was running around a lot and wasn't exactly school material. Also, Reeves had dyslexia, so maybe an alternative environment was just what he needed. He enrolled in acting classes and took a sketch and improv course with Second City Toronto, which he attended at night. Before he tasted the sweet nectar of fame, he got down to improving his skill set instead of going to school. As far as skills are concerned, Keanu's got them in spades. He was an exceptional hockey player. Reeves played as a goalie while attending De La Salle College, and the story goes that he was quite the opponent. In fact, he was so good that he considered going pro for a while. His defense was so solid that he even had his own nickname, The Wall. It was always a dream of Keanu's to be able to represent Canada in the Olympics.
When I thought about it, I thought it would have been cool to play for the Canadian Olympic team.
But I guess acting took the front seat, and everything else went on to the back burner. He continued playing hockey, but had his eyes on the prize. Two worlds collided when Keanu did Youngblood, the 1986 hockey film. But before getting there, Reeves began working in the theater. Like many others, Keanu also found his calling as a performer while participating in high school plays and doing community theater. At the age of 9, he played John Proctor in an adaptation of The Crucible. According to the star, that was the moment he decided that he wanted to be an actor. Around the same time, he also began auditioning for local commercials. But he truly shone in the theater as the local crowds were totally in awe of him. Even after his career had taken off, he would make his way back to productions at times. In 1995, Keanu starred in Hamlet, which was put on at the Manitoba Theatre. It was such a hit that Winnipeg citizens began a Keanu hotline that would report where they'd seen him hanging around town. Before he became the talk of the town, his on-screen career started with small roles on Canadian TV. One of Keanu's first official gigs was when he worked as a correspondent on the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation TV youth program, Going Great. The show focused on child prodigies who accomplished exceptional things at a very young age. It was a pretty popular show and even aired on Nickelodeon.
That was one of my first gigs. Yeah, it was a kids show.
And
Additionally, Reeves was in Hangin' In, a local TV production. It was a scripted series centered on a counseling center in Toronto and the kids who attended it. According to Keanu, that show was a godsend for kids who wanted to get their foot in the door and make meaningful connections in the industry. But the Speed actor had bigger dreams. He wanted to go to LA. Since he couldn't do that until he had his green card, he continued to work and build his profile in Toronto. However, as soon as that card came in, Keanu went for it. But it took a while before he figured things out. While Reeves first began getting little successes here and there, he didn't exactly have a specific goal he was working towards. One thing was clear: it was acting and nothing else. But even with that ironed out, many other things needed to be considered. For example, what sort of performer did he want to be? What was the nature of the projects that he should be seeking? So for a while, Reeves went from audition to audition, but in his early 20s, it suddenly hit him. If he didn't have a clear vision of the future he was pursuing, people would take advantage of him. As soon as he realized this, his career began shaping up, with securing roles in My Own Private Idaho, Parenthood, and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. So I guess that moment of clarity was what made Keanu the powerhouse he is now.